Are you going to play a hunter in Cataclysm Classic? Are you not sure which items you need to get before you set foot in your first raid? Well, you've come to the right place. I'm Movies, and in this video, we're going to talk about all the items available for you for your pre-raid best in slot in Cataclysm Classic Phase 1. Let's get into it. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is your helm. So we're going to talk about all the body pieces, then we'll go over jewelry, and we'll go over weapons and trinkets last. So we'll start with your helm, and really what I'm going to talk about here is professions. So I recommend everyone be an engineer for Cataclysm. So if you're an engineer, your best in slot item for your helm is going to be really easy. It's going to be your engineering helm, right? However, if you are not going to be an engineer, there is another item. There is the Snarling Helm, which is available via Dragonmaw clan or the Wildhammer clan for revered reputation. So you can pick that up as your second best in slot. It is right behind the 359 Biooptic Killshades. For shoulders, this is where things are going to get a little weird. When you deal with your shoulders, you'll see in here what I have for my pre-raid best in slot is I have PvP shoulders here, right? Now, the reason I have PvP shoulders here is because they increase your agility with a 2-set by 70. This is the best socket bonus you can get available before you set foot into raids. So PvP shoulders are going to be the best in slot for your pre-raid when you pair them with your gloves. However, if you don't feel comfortable doing that, you could pick up the Wrap of the Valley Glades. You could pick up Embrace of the Night. These are also items that drop from heroics. And I believe one of them is even one you could pick up with Valor points, with Justice points, I apologize. So Embrace of the Night, they're both Justice points actually. So you could pick up either one via Justice points if you don't want to go for the Bloodthirsty Honor gear. Same thing with gloves here. Same thing also, Gloves of Passing Night is a Justice point item, 1650, so you could pick those up if you don't want to go for the Bloodthirsty. Again, both of these are 1650 honor, so it's the same amount of honor that you'll have to spend versus the same amount of honor for same amount of Justice points. It's 1650 Justice points versus 1650 honor. So depending on which route you want to go, if you saved up those commendations, the Bloodthirsty items are also item level 352, so they are higher item level than the heroic Justice points items. So I recommend those over the Justice point items, but you do you. Next will be your cloak. So the best one you're going to look for is the Cloak of Thread. The Cloak of Thread does drop out of Dead Mines. It's off of Helix Gearbreaker. It is crit and mastery. It is the two best kind of slots that you're going to want to get there. It's a pretty easy one to get. There are a lot of other cloaks available. You can pick them up in any of the other heroics. If you don't end up getting this, if you need some hit rating, the Softwind Cape is good. Same with Cape of the Brotherhood. And then there's Twitching Shadows, which is crit and haste if you need additional haste. So, but I recommend the Cloak of Thread as your full bis. For your chest, it's going to be a crafted item. This is the Dragon Killer Tunic. It is crafted via leatherworking. It costs quite a bit. It's not as expensive as some of the other things. Your Dragon Killer Tunic is 3 Chaos Orbs, 50 Volatile Earth, 3 Pristine Hides, and 10 Blackened Dragon Scale. The hardest thing you'll need to get here are going to be the Chaos Orbs because you'll need to pay for them, and they are BOP. So find a leatherworker, get your chest. If you can't find a leatherworker that has this item, the Buento Wrap Vest is also a good resource and a second best one that drops out of Throne of the Tides. So make sure you're running those heroics, grabbing those second bists if you can't find a leatherworker that has Chaos Orbs. Then we look at our bracers. So bracers there really is only one item. There is a second piece here, but the one you're really going to want to go for are the bracers of some consequence. These drop out of Dead Mines. So make sure you're running your Dead Mines, get them done. If you struggle to get them, you can pick up the jewel crafting ones. They're not quite as good, but these jewel crafted ones are second bis if you want to pick them up. So go ahead and grab them if you need them, but I definitely recommend farming some Dead Mines to pick up these bracers here. Gloves, we kind of went over that already, but I'll go through it just again. Again, it matches up with the shoulders with your PvP gear for the extra agility, the extra 70 agility from the 2-set bonus. You can click at the Gloves of Passing Night. These are very, very good as well. They also have a socket bonus on them. They are 1650 Justice points. So whichever one you choose to do, go ahead and buy those. Your belt is going to be your another piece from leatherworking. This is corded viper belt. If you can't find a leather worker, you could pick up the quicksand belt right out of Ramkahin, right? So that's also with Revered, which is the same as your helm enchant. So as long as you're getting your helm enchant, you'll get a waist, right? So you'll get a good belt. But it will be your BIS belt for pre-raid. It'll even be BIS up until you get a 352, so 372, excuse me. Now, legs, this is where I'm going to take a little bit of a detour. So I have the tier legs here listed. Now, tier legs are not going to be BIS in T11. They are your off spot. So buying these first is a bit of a waste of your Valor points. However, they are the largest upgrade that you can get for damage in week 1. Because the way they up the Valor cap, you can actually get 3,200 Valor in week 1. So you could buy either the legs, the gloves, or the chest. You can even buy a ring or a cloak. But I did test all of the different items, and the legs came out to be the highest DPS increase for week 1. Now, keep that in mind that you are not going to upgrade these to 372, right? There are 372 legs that are better than these legs, so you're not going to be taking a token away from someone, and you do need to have the 359 tier to upgrade your gloves and your chest. So it will put you 1 week behind on your tier if you buy these first. So make your decision. If you don't decide to buy these first, that's totally fine. There's Balker's Waiters, the 349 version are the better ones, not these silly 333 ones I have here. And they drop from the Lost City, all right, of Tolvir. So make sure you're picking those up if you don't want to buy these. The Balker's Waters are the ones you'll want in case you don't buy the tier legs. If you don't buy the tier legs, I recommend buying your tier chest as your first buy from Valor points, because that will be the first upgrade to tier to 372 with heroic bosses. Next we have boots. So for boots, we have the Treads of Malorn. This is a really easy buy. It's just Guardians of Hyjal Exalted. There are some other options here, but really nothing's going to come close to this because it has Mastery and Hit on it. It's the only 359 really available to you. It has the best itemization on it. It's got a socket bonus. Definitely highly recommend picking up the Treads of Malorn and just getting to Exalted with Guardians of Hyjal so you can easily pick it up. There are a few other options here. Haunting Footfalls, right? Red Scale Boots, right? If you can't end up getting it, there's these moccasins here, right? These are leatherworking. The moccasins are Valor points, right? So if you want to buy those and spend gold, you could do that. I don't recommend purchasing those with your Valor points. That will be a waste, as you'll replace them really quickly. And there's just a good enough option with reputation, so it's not really worth purchasing Valor boots for your hunter. All right, that is all of the main gear items. Now we have some jewelry. So let's go into jewelry, and we'll start with the neck piece. So there really is a couple of good necks here that you can purchase, right? So the first one, and the one you're really going to be looking for, is the Brazen Elementium Medallion. This is made through jewel crafting, so if you're a jewel crafter, you'll be able to craft this yourself. If not, you can have somebody else craft it for you. It is BOE. It is going to be your pre-raid BIS. However, there is one that is better, but it is a world drop. So you have the Don Rodriguez Fabulous Necklace. This is a world drop, completely random. You might get it. You might have to spend 50K on it if you wanted to buy it, right? So I don't recommend this, but if you're looking to have the best of the best, this is the item you'd want to be looking for, okay? So I recommend the Brazen Elementium Medallion. It is easy to obtain. It's pretty cheap. Go ahead and pick that one up. Now for some rings, these are both going to be pretty easy to get as well. You have your Signet of the Elder Council. This is Earthen Ring Exalted, so another one just like the boots where you can get free epic just by getting Exalted, right? In addition, the other ring is the Elementium Destroyer's Ring. This is your jewel crafting ring as well, so you're also running another crafted item here. Now there are another good bit of options. There is the Ring of Dun Algas. This drops in, I believe it drops in Grim Batol. You have your Band of Blades. You have a Nautilus ring. This is Throne of the Tides, and the Skullcracker ring out of Blackrock Caverns. So you have a lot of options in case you can't find anyone to make this for you, or you don't have the mats or anything like that. But because of the gem socket, none of these have gem sockets in them, as you can see. This is the only one that does, but it's a yellow socket, so it's not as good as the red socket that you have here for the extra 10 haste. So definitely your BIS is this Elementium Destroyer's ring. I highly recommend it. It's pretty easy. Again, fairly cheap. The jewel crafting BOEs are not overly expensive, so I definitely recommend them. Now let's talk about weapons. So you have a couple of options here, especially when it comes to your weapons. You have your poleaxe. So for the polearm, this one is a bit pricey because it costs, I think it's 6 true gold and 3 chaos orbs, right, for blacksmithing plus hardened elementium. So it's going to be a little tough to get, but it is by and large your pre-BIS item, right? Now, if you can't afford this or don't want to get it, you can go into Dead Mines, and the Rock Slicer out of Dead Mines is a very close piece that's very close to it. You can see that the stats are relatively close. However, the secondary stats are more balanced on the poleaxe. You have more crit, a little bit less mastery, so it's definitely a slightly better upgrade. So you can go with either of these. If you don't want to spend the money on the poleaxe, you can go with the Rock Slicer. They're just as good as each other. They sim really close to each other. It's only about a 20 or 30 DPS difference between the two. So you can go either way. I definitely recommend the poleaxe for full BIS and absolute BIS, but the Rock Slicer is just as good. So go with what you feel. For your main hunter weapon is going to be either a bow or a gun. Now, again, this comes down to depending on your race, right? So if you are any race other than troll, you are going to be using the Kickback 5000. Okay, this is an engineering BOE. Any engineer can make it. They can sell it to you. It's a little bit expensive. I think it's 3 true gold and 2 or 3 chaos orbs. So it's a little pricey, but it's worth it because it is the best available weapon for all hunters that are not troll, due to the socket bonus, the socket that it has in it, and the damage that it does. Now, the reason that for trolls you'll use the Amber Messenger is because trolls have a racial that gives you an additional 1% damage when using bows. So the bow beats out the gun even with the gem socket as a troll because of that racial. So if you are using a troll, you will get Amber Messenger. This drops out of heroics. It actually drops out of Blackrock Caverns off the last boss. So you'll be able to do Blackrock Caverns, get this bow, pick it up. Okay? So for your weapon, you'll either get your crafted weapon or your poleaxe or your Rock Slicer, or you'll get your crafted gun or your Amber Messenger, right? So we have a lot of crafted pieces here, a lot of bought pieces here. There's not a lot of heroic items that we need to go get, which is kind of nice. And now for trinkets. So trinkets is a little bit of a touchy subject, and it really depends on what your guild is requiring you to do. My guild is requiring me to purchase the Mirror of Broken Images as our first buy of the Tolbarad dailies, which will in turn be the trinket I'm using for all of Phase 1. So I will essentially be using this and losing out on some DPS because I'll be buying it. But if your guild is not requiring this, the actual best in slot trinket is the Unsolvable Riddle, which is a similar secondary stat with 321 mastery, but it has an on use of increasing your agility by 1605 for 20 seconds on a 2-minute cooldown. This is a fantastic trinket. It is bought with 125 commendations for Tolbarad and requires Baron's Wardens or Hellscream's Reach Exalted, right? So make sure you are doing your Tolbarad dailies and picking up your trinket. Now, if you can't get this, if you don't get it to 85 in time to be able to get this before the first raid, there are a lot of other options that are just as good. You have Tia's Grace, which drops out of Lost City of Tolvir, right? This is a very good trinket with also mastery, and it gives you another 340 agility, just base. So very, very good trinket. You have the Grace of the Herald. This drops out of Blackrock Caverns off the second boss, which is a flat agility boost and then a random buff for extra crit, right? Really good. You have the Skarden's Grace, which drops out of Grim Batol. This is another agility base, and then it gives you additional mastery, right? So it's kind of flipped on the Unsolvable Riddle, right? And then you have the if you're an alchemist, this one is the one you'll want to use, right? If you are an alchemist, you will make and wear this trinket. It has a socket bonus. It has great secondary stats. It is fantastic. I highly recommend it. It does sim similarly to the Unsolvable Riddle, so you can kind of choose between the two. And then your second trinket will always be the key to the Endless Chamber. This drops out of Stone Core on Heroic, and it gives you massive hit rating and a massive agility proc. So it is fully going to be your best trinket until you get the 359 trinkets. Key to the Endless Chamber will always be the one trinket you get. The second trinket is variable depending on what you can obtain and what your guild is requiring you to do. So I would like to go into reforging and stuff like that, but I don't know that reforging is really worth it for this video because there are multiple ways to obtain your hit rating with this. We're only 1% under hit rating. We are over on our haste caps. We have a ton of crit, and we have all of our enchants on, right? So overall, this is going to be your full pre-bis set as an absolute pre-bis set. Now, your absolute is going to include Unsolvable Riddle here instead of Mirror of Broken Images, but this is the absolute best gear that you can obtain before you step foot into a raid. Now, obviously, a more realistic one would look more like the Kickback with Rock Slicer, with the the tier chest and Balkor's Wardens, right? Waiters right here would be your option here, and maybe a little bit less crafted gear, so you don't have to spend as much gold. But that's a little bit more realistic. The PvP stuff still doesn't move anywhere. It's really easy to obtain 3,300 honor, so definitely go pick those up. They're really good, and they will do you quite well for the first couple of weeks in the raid. And make sure that you are picking up a couple of things that might be better. There's also another world drop for legs that are really difficult to find. It's the Arrow Singer leg guards. These will be better, and they do sim better than the tier legs. So if you can pick these up, you don't have to spend your Valor on the tier legs. But again, another world drop, right? So you really can't be banking on getting these, right? They're going to be super expensive on the auction house in the first week or two. So don't bank on getting the Arrow Singer leg guards. Don't bank on Don Rodrigo's, right? Pick up the items that you can buy with the gear and with the points and the money that you have, right? As far as enchants goes, you have a lot of cool enchants to pick up, right? You have your two-handed weapon of mighty agility, assassin step. You don't really need a ton of Maelstrom crystals. It looks like you'll need about 6 in total, which in turn is not terrible, but they are going to be fairly hard to obtain. Then your Bracer enchant is also a world drop, right? So that is going to be hard to find. People will find it and sell it on the auction house for 30k gold for the enchant. So just be ready for that. And then you have, as far as like the main items that you're going to get, you really only need about 4 true gold. If you're buying the poleaxe, it's going to be 6, added 6 on top of that, so 10 total true gold that you'll need. You'll need a total of 7 chaos orbs. If you're getting the poleaxe, it will go up to 10 chaos orbs. And the rest of this is relatively straightforward. There's a bit of volatile air, some volatile water, some blue gems, some volatile earths, but none of this is overly difficult to obtain, right? Some dream emeralds. The hardened elementium is just a lot of elementium. It's 10 elementium bars per hardened elementium bar, so it's a lot of elementium. But either way, people are going to be farming. There's going to be a lot of stuff out there on the auction house. There's going to be a ton of people playing. So get out there, get going, get to it. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. I appreciate you watching this video. Please don't hesitate to reach out to me directly if you have any questions. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe on this video. It really helps the channel out and helps us do what we're trying to do. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.